And we what, I have to let you actually being recorded. What? Can
Yes.
you hear me?
I can.
You can.
Yes.
There's no echo.
No.
Oh, that's good. Anyway, this is an urgent call because we need to discuss Peanut, the squirrel, and what this means to the future of American democracy. Because I think it's a microcosm of exactly the problem we were talking about, the bureaucracy problem that we were talking about in the last edition.
Indeed.
We're going to come on and talk about the election, but I think this whole thing happening to me, this whole thing with Peanut and his raccoon pal that happened is one of the most important issues I've seen in this whole campaign. Because and I didn't bring up pets, did I?
You didn't.
No, they're killing the dogs, they're eating the cats, whatever that was. Now they're eating the pets, they're killing the pets, they're murdering the pets. These are not Venezuelans in some obscure town. This is the American government, hitmen, going in and assassinating people's pets. I don't think that's right, do you?
No, I think it's not right at all.
No, it reminds me of 9/11. Not really. But it is, in truth, this shows not only hatred of small rodents, some of them deserve hate. Rats are not my favorite. But a squirrel? In England, you have the cute little red squirrels and the gray squirrels, right? But the gray squirrels ate them all, didn't they?
Well, there are very few red squirrels left.
Yeah, but this is a gray squirrel. Let's just get that straight. I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to have to Google that on my phone because I think we need to look at the Wikipedia on this. It's not exhaustive, but it does describe in painful detail. Peanut, when you put in Peanut the squirrel is the top search today, I noticed. But let's just look at some of the headlines. Peanut the squirrel's death sparks bomb threats. Peanut the squirrel drives millions to crypto meme coins. I don't know what that means. Who ratted out Peanut the squirrel? That's what I want to know. Which Karen in the neighborhood said that Peanut the squirrel was a danger to society? And the only, they're talking about Peanut the squirrel. They're not mentioning his pal, the raccoon, who was also famous on the internet. Peanut the squirrel owner denies using the pet's death to promote OnlyFans. Well, if you can't use your pet's assassination, and let's call it, that's what it is. They call it euthanasia or whatever. Putting the thing to sleep, the squirrel, I mean. Let's face it, it's an assassination. It's an execution, actually, isn't it? It's an execution.
You'd think the relevant government department had better things to do with its time.
New York couples speak out after wildlife officials euthanize Peanut the squirrel. I think this OnlyFans thing, if you can't use your pet's death to promote your sexy page on OnlyFans, I think this is unfair, don't you? Isn't this one of the great freedoms that we're fighting for?
Yes, well, that probably wouldn't be the top of everybody's list of great freedoms for which we are fighting, but even so.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's about OnlyFans, but those are probably squirrel haters.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think so.
Do squirrels carry rabies? The reasoning behind the euthanasia of Peanut the squirrel. I think I'm going to have to write something. I'm going to have to pin.
Is there a general campaign in that part of in that area to go around killing squirrels on the grounds that they're spreading rabies?
Well,
was this just a one-off?
Apparently, it's against local regulations, but I think it may have been an attempt to stop other squirrels from plans to become famous on the internet.
Maybe.
because there's only so much room for fame on the internet. And if squirrels start eating their way into this, what can the rest of us hope for? I mean, we're being ignored because of some, let's face it, a squirrel with limited vocabulary and limited talents. I mean, I think. I mean, maybe he could jump through hoops or something. Let me just tell you, Peanut was a pet eastern gray squirrel. This is from Wikipedia, the official source. It's found and rescued by Mark Longo in 2017. Was the subject of a popular Instagram account, which was used to draw viewers to Longo's OnlyFans account. That's what they're saying on Wikipedia. That sounds like a bit of hating. Person who read that. Already anti-squirrel right there. That sounds anti-squirrel, doesn't it? On October 30th, 2024, he was seized from his owner's home. Oh, that's a cute little picture of him there. Poor fella. Pictured in 2020 before he was brutally executed. He didn't even shoot a president or even gnaw on a president or anything, right?
No. Didn't he allegedly bite one of the
well, I mean,
one of the people who came to collect him?
Yeah, if you come, my cat, my Maine Coon, one of them, I have two, would probably bite someone or scratch them at the very least if somebody they don't know comes and grabs them, don't you think? With execution on their minds, because animals can know, The cow knows when they're going to the slaughterhouse. So, I mean, probably the squirrel was very aware that this was a hitman from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. This never would have happened in Alabama. It's fitting that it was New York, isn't it? They know how to treat animals in Alabama. You put them in a stew and eat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he was seized on October 30th, euthanized 2 days later. 2 days. Short trial, huh? The action triggered widespread public backlash, social media outcry, condemnation from several lawmakers, of course, and proposed a bill aimed at preventing similar incidents in the future. Pine City, New York. I'm going to be careful when I visit there not to bring any of my pets through that town. Although, life and career. Peanut, we already said he was rescued, etc. Mark Longo, he brought him up bottle feeding the squirrel. He found Peanut on his porch with half his tail missing. No doubt a previous assault and battery, in this case, was involved. Probably by some critter, another outlawed critter. Peanut ran inside when he opened the door. It's illegal to keep squirrels as pets in the state of New York. Well, that explains it. That's why you show up at the house and immediately, take the squirrel away and murder it later, right? In the quiet of some fly-by-night veterinarian office, like one of those in a film noir where the criminal gets his gunshot fixed up by Jimmy Stewart, who's playing a doctor. Anyway, there was an Instagram account, had 534,000 followers. I wish I were a squirrel. That's how you get followers.
Yeah, you'd have
Probably
more followers.
This person was jealous of the followers, right? This Karen.
Maybe.
Was jealous of the followers. That's what I think. Anyway, Peanut's social media following was used to draw viewers to Longo's OnlyFans account, where he called himself Peanut's dad and produced pornography, drawing in $800,000 over 1 month. Follow the money, I always say. That's what they did in Watergate. If Woodward and Bernstein were on this, they'd go right to that money, wouldn't they? They'd follow the money and probably accuse Richard Nixon, his ghost, of being behind it. Or someone with a heavy beard. a heavy, a gray aspect from their dark beard, even when they're shaven closely. And Nixonite. That's when you should have shaved a little closer, I think. Anyway, there you go. It sounds to me like Peanut was murdered to stop them making money on OnlyFans out of their dirty pornography. I wonder if that's Wikipedia. It's probably written by some Fauci lover in their basement, who believed that coronavirus was just happened to appear in the world from the entrails of a strange animal.
Yeah.
A mongoose, whatever it was, a bat.
Bat.
Yeah, maybe they thought that maybe Peanut reminded this person of one of those original carriers of the coronavirus. Who can say?
Maybe.
But it's not funny anyway.
No, not very funny, I have to say.
It's not funny when an animal is exploited for pornographic reasons, especially when it's something as innocent as a squirrel. I remember the Bullwinkle and Rocky show, and there's no mention of the raccoon, their raccoon pal, whose name isn't even there. All they care about is their dirty sex.
Yes, well.
Which led to the unfair execution of a squirrel. I mean, it reminds me of the execution of Private Slovik, the only American executed during World War II. Ernie Slovik. I think his name was Ernie. It may not have been. It was Slovik for sure. It was a movie starring Martin Sheen. Okay. Is there any? You always have something wise to say, and we don't have these followers. And I'm certainly not going to start an OnlyFans page for us.
No. I mean, just that in itself is the reflection of how superficial and how in some ways sad the world has become. That people see this as a legitimate way of earning money.
Well, OnlyFans or Squirrel?
Yeah. Well,
exploitation of Squirrel. I think this is exploitation and execution, the two E's.
I mean the whole thing is very strange. Of course, I have seen on social media today pictures of a squirrel and Kamala Harris with a large syringe under the caption, "Remember, you are the squirrel, vote Republican."
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me because, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Kamala Harris sees all of us as squirrels, and she's the nut keeper or the nut cracker if it's her husband. She's, she's in charge of the winter stock, and we all starve unless she says we can eat. That's what that means. I mean philosophically, not literally.
Yeah. No, I think there is a more serious point, this sort of overweening bureaucracy. I mean, something not similar, but something similar happened to Geronimo the alpaca in England about 3 years ago. The alpaca had been, I think, brought from New Zealand and was twice diagnosed with bovine tuberculosis, which of course is a serious disease, which is why in England they're going around slaughtering badgers, which are alleged to spread it, although the evidence suggests that maybe the badgers don't spread it. Anyway, this had been kept on a farm by an animal lover in isolation from the rest of her herd of alpacas until the point came when the government or the Department of the Environment, DEFRA, I think, or farming, whatever it was. In England, they keep changing the names of these departments. Arrived one day to take the alpaca away, but they arrived with 4 vets in protective suits and 10 policemen to kidnap this alpaca and then have it put down 2 days later somewhere. Extraordinary overkill, literally. And the poor owner had been through a number of court cases to try and save the alpaca. But there was some, I seem to remember vaguely at the time, there was some.
Well, they should have shot the owner.
Well, yeah.
They should
Well,
have just eliminated the owner, and then there would have been no problem to take the alpaca. I
well,
don't know
yeah,
why
yeah.
they let people get away with this.
Fortunately, in England, the police are not as trigger happy as they appear to be in America. So the shooting the owner probably wasn't an option.
Oh, it's
But at
too
the
bad.
time, there was quite a lot of support for the alpaca at the time. And then there was some question as to whether they should have done a third test, whether how recent the other. I mean, the whole thing was like all these things, shrouded in emotion and a certain degree of mystery. But it did again demonstrate how the bureaucratic mind can find infinite resources to do something like kill an alpaca. But if your home is being burgled or something really important, there's never a policeman to be found.
Well, this is the point, and
That is the sinister thing. For example, we saw these riots in Southport following the death of these three girls at a school, and the way the
you mean
court
from
was.
the wait a second. You mean the ones from the who were fans of Taylor Swift? That thing?
Yes, and then some young person came in and stabbed them to death and injured 10 others in the process. And it subsequently transpired
Yeah.
that the character who'd done the stabbing had been or was being investigated for the connection has just disappeared.
I've got you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it turned out that the perpetrator of the stabbing was also being investigated by the police or the authorities for home manufacture of the poison ricin and generally being a bit of a terrorist on the spare time. Which
Poison
information?
rice? Poison rice?
Ricin, it's a
Oh,
poison.
ricin is a poison. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Which
poison rice,
information?
that's
Which
terrible.
information was held? Which information was held back from the public for 2 weeks because they thought there might be more rioting? But the point is,
Yeah.
those who rioted or protested against what was going on, what they saw as sort of immigrants running wild, were processed by the courts remarkably quickly. And yet, normally in the courts, there is no, things grind along far too slowly. So again, it seems that when it suits the authorities, they can do things very quickly. But for the normal people in the normal course of things, everything has become a bit too much trouble. And this is also very sinister, I think.
Yeah, it's all very sinister. The attack on both sides of the Atlantic on people's pets, and particularly, and the refusal to take human beings seriously when they're in trouble. Uh, you look at New York, where the crime is through the roof. I mean, there's people
The mayor of London,
walking down the
at
street
one
hitting
point,
people,
the mayor of London at
shooting
one
them,
point, which
stabbing
is
them.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
said that you have to accept stabbing as part of the price of living in a large city. Extraordinary.
Well, I used to live in London, and we didn't accept stabbing as
Well,
part of the
nobody
price.
accepts it, but this is just typical of how out of touch these people are.
Although when I
Because,
lived
of
in
course,
Atlanta,
because they get chauffeur-driven cars, they and their children are not likely to be anywhere where they're likely to be stabbed. But that is an
well,
option not
I was just
open
going to
to many
say,
other
when
people.
when I lived in Atlanta, being shot was part of the price
Yeah.
of liberty.
But when you think these people are actually in charge of actually trying to maintain some degree of law and order, it's actually rather sinister.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, the whole thing, uh, this whole thing with the squirrel is just crazy. But the fact um, that an animal gets so much attention and people don't get that attention, being punched in the face, stabbed in the streets of London, stabbed in the streets of New York, punched in the face in both places, not only those cities, and the people doing it are not even taken seriously, just goes to show, uh, and the response of the government to going in and taking this pet and euthanizing it just goes to show, um, well, you call it overweening bureaucracy. That just is people with not enough to do, and departments existing for the wrong reason, and serious things not being taken seriously, uh, and
Exactly.
frivolous things being heightened to the greatest problem in the universe, you know, in our daily life. So while it's sad that they euthanized the guy's pet, and the OnlyFans thing, I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, it's rather odd. And that is also a faux pas, to say the least. What is a faux pas anyway? It's a mistake.
It's a fancy word for saying mistake.
It means mistake, right? So it's a mistake to exploit the poor squirrel for your sexy page, but it's also a mistake to euthanize the pet because of some complaint about rabies and not testing for the rabies, right? As far as we know, but we don't know exactly whether they tested for it or not. Not from Wikipedia. And I noticed the article's main thrust is well, this guy was exploiting a squirrel for OnlyFans pornography. Okay, OnlyFans, as you said. My God, Kim Kardashian started all this along with what's her name, Paris Hilton. Both of them already well off, but just not getting enough attention. So they had to film themselves having sex, and then oops, it accidentally got out.
Yeah, I know that we live in a very strange times, and
yeah. Really, I have to say that your sex tapes that you showed me, I want you to keep those.
Yes, well,
keep them in a vault so they don't get out, because, good Lord, that pony looked upset.
Yes, well, of course, this has never happened.
No, okay, that's what you say.
Yeah,
that's what you say. Okay, anything else to add? Or I think we covered the squirrel, didn't we? We're both having our afternoon coffee.
I know. I think I'll be glad when this election is over. I don't know how American society can tolerate this perpetual electoral cycle. Congress every 2 years, president every 4 years. But it's constant. No sooner is somebody elected than they spend their time raising money for the next election.
The whole thing is madness, but that's another subject we can cover at another time.
So, but
anyway, the election's tonight. We're going to do a big show tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the TV studio tonight. You're going to be in the TV studio doing the news. I'm going to be over there with the head of Republicans in Poland. I asked the head of the Democrats, but he's otherwise engaged this evening. I think he might be going to one of the other stations. But he's a good guy. They're both good guys. Unfortunately, the election doesn't look that way. There's a lot of mud being thrown and a lot of stupidity, actually. I mean,
this is because we've lost the capacity for people to accept that other people are both good and bad at the same time.
Correct.
So
we all are.
Yeah. Exactly, but it means that you can be. Somebody can have done some good things and still be unelectable as a candidate this time round, or vice versa. But nobody accepts it. It's either you're all good or you're all bad. And by good and bad, I mean in the eyes of the opposition.
Of course, I mean this is the black and white.
Exactly. It's the black and whiteness. It doesn't accept that people can be black, white, and grey in different issues at different times.
Yeah,
but you should still communicate with them. And this is
you're a nice guy. You're a trusted guy. You're a serious guy, and yet you have this frivolous OnlyFans. And I think, we have to. I mean, I accept that.
Yes.
I accept your OnlyFans page, and
yes.
It doesn't change my overall opinion of you, which goes about 51% good and 49%, really strange.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, anyway, there we are.
Okay.
We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have Randy Mott with us, who is longtime DC insider, who's forgotten more about the elections than you and I probably know, and the process. My aunt was working for the Democratic Party for years and years and years. She was working for a Democrat and then working in the DNC, actually, which, for a lot of people would be like, I don't know, working for the devil. But you know, that's politics, right? Okay, that's all we
Okay.
got. I'm
Very
Will.
good.
This is Nick
See you tomorrow.
for the Richardsons. See you.
Ciao.